I like to say that I'm a pretty stubborn guy. I like to try and do things my way. I don't really like to try and spend money on things. You know, I grew up budgeting to try and get what I wanted with my hobbies, and that's kind of stuck with me, which I'm glad about. I like to try and recycle, reuse, or repurpose. It's a trade-off of time versus money. You never really win, but I would rather reuse some stuff than just buy a whole bunch of new materials to make stuff out of. Such as this welding table. I built this from the ground up out of scrap metal that was given to me, or I found, or I purchased like the top plate. The rest of it I got from my uncle and my dad, and I welded it up and built it myself, which I'm quite happy with. On the front of it, you'll see my hammers. You know, I believe that a person can't have too many hammers. Even if you're not blacksmithing or whatever, hammers are just useful to have in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. So what I like to do when I was younger is I would go around and collect hammerheads from yard sales, abandoned places, just people I know, buy them for a couple bucks or just ask if they need them, so on and so forth. Be a bit of a scumbag, bum it off of them, you know. But I always had an issue with these hammers of the handles, you know. Modern hammer handles, I find they're so garbage. They're too thick, the indexing is all wrong, they're too round, they don't feel right in the hand, and they're just not worth it. And half of the time when you wedge them in, they come out again. So for something like a little pee-wee hammer, for if you're doing body work or whatever you're doing with it, that's fine. I've had this hammer handle in, I just made out of a piece of birch. Had it in there for about 5 years, no issues. But this is a pretty light use hammer. So for something pretty big, like a big hunga-munga, you want something solid. And I kind of figured out a secret trick for that, you know. This is a tubular steel hammer handle. I believe it's chromoly. It might just be mild steel, but looking at the spark pattern of it, I think it's chromoly. I just shaped it this way to give it some indexing, and then I just widened it out at the end so that it doesn't slip out of your hand. The indexing helps with knowing where it's pointed at, knowing where the side is, so on and so forth. Knowing how to hold it, it really, really helps. And it's very effective. I've had this one for 5 years, abused it for 5 years. This one is just peened onto the end of it and it's put through the center. No issues. The only thing I have to replace is the hockey tape. I just did this one recently. I think that's the first time in 2 years, I believe. These ones are my other hammers. These ones need some new tape for sure. This one's like a general purpose. I used to use this for blacksmithing all the time, but I don't really do that as much. So this one's just like a general forming hammer for heavy stuff or just smacking a punch or whatever. This one's got a slightly wider index or whatever on the handle, and it flares out quite a bit more at the end. I've banged this right into steel multiple times. I haven't dented the handles. The welds have not given out, even though they're kind of crappy, you know, 5 years ago. Same with the bigger one, the mini sledge here. Welded on the head, no issues. No issues. Hammer, handle, no issues. They've held up pretty good. And you know, if you're a keen person, you may be thinking, isn't it going to vibrate your fucking wrists off? Because most steel handles that people try to rig up usually vibrate your fucking wrists off. But somehow, I've managed to avoid that. And I'll prove it to you right now. Got a piece of railroad track here, and you know, if you use something like an S-wing, that will give you some vibration. There's a bit of vibration, but it's mostly damped by the rubber. So you would think that these would be a lot worse. There's no rubber, no wood, no nothing. But watch this. Doesn't even really hurt the hand. It's a bit heavy. That's about it. I haven't had any issues with it. Even with the bigger one. No issues. It's fine. See? Whoop. Hey, not bad at all. and yeah, I'm quite happy with them. That's 5 years. All I have to do is replace the tape once in a while. I feel like I figured that out. It's kind of a closed case, which I'm very happy about. I just figured I'd share.